Life Audio.
Welcome to Empowering Homeschool Conversations, your authority in navigating the world of homeschooling diverse learners. Featuring Peggy Ployer from SPED Homeschool, Annie Yorty from AnnieYorty.com, Leilani Melendez from Living with Eve, Stephanie Buckwalter from eLARP Learning, and Dawn Jackson from Dawn Jackson Educational Consulting and Tutoring. With over 75 years of combined homeschooling expertise, experiences, and perspectives, this group is eager to share their wealth of wisdom to empower your homeschooling journey. So grab your favorite mug, settle in, and get ready for insightful discussions, valuable insights, and practical tips as these experts and their guests dive into the hottest topics in homeschooling. Whether you're a seasoned homeschooler, just considering this path, or anywhere in between, you don't want to miss a minute of these enlightening conversations that will empower your child to thrive in their homeschool environment. Empowering Homeschool Conversations is starting right now. Join us to give your homeschool the power boost it needs to successfully educate the unique learners in your home.
Today, we are going to talk about how to time box homeschool days based on student energy rhythms. Doesn't that sound amazing? And my guest today is Rachel Churianu, and she is a retired homeschooling mom, a professional educator, a licensed homeschool counselor, and author. And she is here to talk about this amazing topic. Welcome, Rachel. I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So for those of you that are joining us, just know that you can be part of this conversation. I know some of you sent in questions ahead of time. We have the ability for you to do that. If you want to look at our schedule and use the links, you can submit your questions for shows. Maybe you're going to miss the live, but you have questions about that topic. Just know you can go to our website at theempoweredhomeschool.com and look at the schedule and put that information in there. But also, you can join us live. And so if you are joining us live, just know you can put your questions, your comments wherever you're watching from. We are live right now on Facebook and YouTube and lots of places. So anyways, feel free to be part of this conversation. That's why we go live. So Rachel, I love to ask my guests when they first join the show just why they're passionate about the topic that we're discussing today, and just give us a little information, more than the bio that, the short bio that I just read, just about you and anything else you want to share with our family, just so they know a little bit about your background.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, before I jump in, I did want to say that I am not a doctor, and by license, I am not a scientist. But I do have a passion for teaching people just about tapping into your natural energy and then time boxing based on that. Because here's the thing, as homeschoolers, you have this incredible advantage to take advantage of the natural sleep cycle, the natural being awake of kids. And if we can utilize that in the best way, you can be so efficient with your schoolwork that you can get it done 2-3 hours a day, right? Depending on the age, whether we're talking about 5-year-olds or whether high schoolers. And then boom, you have the rest of the day to go to the movies, to go to the museum, to go to the park, to dive into whatever you want to. Unlike the public school system or any traditional school system where boom, you're in the seat for 8 hours. All your energy's in there. By the time you're done, you really don't have any energy left for anything else. So I just want, and so I just really want to reach out to people who are homeschooling right now and give them the information and the power to have the best homeschool experience. And here's the thing, if it's not working out, try something new. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. And every week, every day should kind of be like a mini experiment. What went right? What went wrong?
Love that. Yeah.
Right. And that's the beauty of doing that, of course, correcting. Whereas if you, let's say you put your kid in a school and it's not working out, you don't really have you don't have the opportunity to change things around. It's kind of set in stone. So take advantage of this time that you have and jump into those rhythms. And so a little bit about my background. I started homeschooling in 2015 with my 4 and 6-year-old. My oldest one was not doing well in the school setting he was in. Some dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, which we can talk about later. But I just felt that at that time, I was going to give homeschooling a shot. I had taught in the public school system for several years, and I really tried to emulate my classroom as homeschooling, and I fell flat on my face. It was ridiculous. Like, I have this memory of
about that. Yes.
What's that?
We've heard many stories like that on our show, but those that have moved on after that, then it was good.
Right. And so it kind of went like this. I have this memory of the first day. I had my whole plan scheduled with my 4 and 6-year-old, and I had hours scheduled for every subject. And I quickly learned within the first 6 minutes that was not going to work. And so we kind of had to course correct, right? And course correct and go about our days. And so, for about a part of 8 or 9 years, I homeschooled. And really, if I have any good insight for homeschoolers, it's because I messed up so many times. And so really my mess is my message. And I just want to empower people who are homeschooling now that might be struggling. Don't give up. Look at what you're doing. Be creative. Use resources. Talk to people. Use the internet. And you can do this. You can make an education plan that's going to fit your kid/kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love when you talked about just the freedom to change. Our broadcast last week, actually, I interviewed a researcher. He does homeschool research, and he said, just of all the things, the advantages you have, that's one of the greatest things to accommodate special learners, is that freedom. And I love that you called it an experiment. And because oftentimes we feel like we have the schedule, we have to set it in stone, and then it has to work. And we failed if it didn't. But looking at it as an experiment just makes it feel like you have this release. It's like, oh, well, it didn't work out. What did we learn from it? How can we move on? That scientific approach versus
Yeah, absolutely. Because I see so many people, they're like, oh, this homeschooling thing, it's just not working and my kids are fighting. And it's like, well, let's take a step back. Are your kids crying during lessons? Then don't continue to either use the same curriculum, or we can get into it right now. Maybe you need to change when you're doing math to a different time of day. And we can start talking about that now. And what I talk about using your energy levels, because I know that was one of the questions and the main point that we're talking about today.
Yes, Deborah had asked, please describe an energy rhythm. Since that's in our title. Yeah.
If you look at the idea of a chronotype, have you heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so a chronotype is basically just your natural sleep and wake rhythm. Everyone's heard, are you a early bird or are you a night owl, right? So this is just kind of the natural cadence of people. Now, according to Dr. Michael Brewis, he has this book called his book is called The Power of Now. And he goes really into detail. And if you go to sleepdoctor.com, you can actually take this quiz and find out what your chronotype is based on this. And he put little animals with them. But basically, if you keep all the variables the same, people have a natural cadence to when they wake and when they sleep. Now, for me, my ideal time to wake up is between 5:30 and 6:30. That's just when my body wants to wake up. When I go to sleep, anywhere from 9 to 10, if I can go to bed from 9 to 10 and wake up from 5:30 to 6:30, I'm going to have a pretty good day. Now, my husband, he doesn't want to go to bed till 12 or 1 o'clock. And because he's working on Pacific time, he won't get up till like 9 or 10, right? And he's not lazy. I think our society based on, and since the Industrial Revolution, right? People are like, oh, you want to sleep in, you're lazy. It's like, no, it's just when your body naturally wants
because he was working till midnight when you were sleeping.
Exactly. And so with kids, there's going to be a bit of standardized sleep and wakeness, right? So you're going to see little kids before teenagers wanting to go to bed early and wanting to get up early as well. That's why I think our education system right now has it so backwards, right? When do the kids go to school later? Elementary, right? High schoolers. Right. My niece and nephew go to the same high school that I went to. Do you know what time they start? You know what time their first hour starts?
Oh, it's probably like 7 a.m. It's ridiculous.
7:10 in the morning. Now, I have a memory of being in 10th grade, 10th grade. I had geometry and I had math first hour. Now, could you imagine 15-year-old me sitting in that classroom at 7:10 in the morning wanting to do geometry problems? Like, that's inefficiency at its finest.
Your brain
right?
is working at that time.
Right. But I didn't have the option. So as homeschoolers, right. So as homeschoolers, we can look at our kids' natural rhythms and we can kind of correlate our school schedules with them. I just have a study here I wanted to reference. I wrote it down. I don't know what it is. There is a study. I can check my references later, but there was actually a shift from when kids are 14 to 19, their sleep when they want to wake up is 2 hours later compared to the earlier, right? So they just need that sleep to sleep in later. But unfortunately, our education isn't seeing that, and they're doing our kids an injustice by having them come to school so early. My high schooler.
Absolutely. We will continue this conversation after a short break.
Is it hard to spark meaningful conversations with your kids? Whether you're a homeschool hero, planning activities for the next family vacation, or simply gathering around the dinner table, we've got something that can help. Introducing the Daily Family Conversation Starter by best-selling author Katie Clemens. This remarkable book offers 365 imaginative ways to connect with your children in just 5 minutes each day, with prompts like, who made you laugh today? Or what would you do if you had a tail? These simple questions open up a world of laughter, curiosity, and deeper connections. From dinner time to sleepy time, the Daily Family Conversation Starter is your key to creating memories that will last a lifetime. Don't wait to transform your family's daily routine into an adventure of discovery and fun. Grab your copy of the Daily Family Conversation Starter today, wherever books are sold.
But look around you. Your family, your faith, they're not in the way. They are the way.
From the creators of Jesus Revolution comes the incredible true story.
It's going to be dangerous and scary, and giving up, it's not an option.
The story of one family's journey from down under to center stage. Unsung Hero, a For King and Country film starring Candace Cameron Bure and Terry O'Quinn. In theaters now. Visit unsunghero.movie to learn more. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool, a nonprofit that empowers families to home educate diverse learners. To learn more, visit spedhomeschool.com.
Yeah, my 9th grader just took his PSATs this morning. And he got there at 7:45, and I told him, if they would have just let you guys sleep in for 2 hours and take it, I promise you everyone's test scores would have gone up. I promise you that would have happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was on a panel once, and they asked us, somebody had asked from the audience when we start school. And at that point I had all teenagers, and I was like, I don't want to answer this question because I'm going to be like the oddball, because I let my kids sleep till they naturally woke up. And and then the lady 2 down from me said, oh, we don't start till afternoon. And I was like, oh, hallelujah. I'm in good company. But I think, we need to talk about this more, because it is okay. And then, my biggest fear was, oh goodness, when my kids get a job, they're never going to want to wake up. No, they realized I have to do this. They change their schedule. They get up for work. So don't have that fear that this is going to be like a lifetime, or else they'll find a job that fits into that schedule that they need.
Yeah, and for sure. And they're not teenagers anymore, right? Their body
Right.
difference for sleep is going to be different. But I think if we can teach our kids this tool of tuning into their body and saying, okay, I need sleep, I'm going to honor that. And so when maybe they go to college, they know I don't want to schedule that 8 a.m. chemistry lab because that's not going to be my best time, right? So how do we do this for people that are homeschooling that might have kids that are 5 years old and like whatever? So there's a number of different ways that you can do it. If you want to be really tech savvy, you can use this. I wouldn't do this with the kids, but if you want to just kind of look at your own natural rhythms, there's an app called the Rise app. And I think it's $60 a year. I'm not quite sure. I used it all last year. And so you put your phone by your bed at night, it tracks your sleep, it sees when you get up. And then based on the time that you went to bed and the time you get up, it will actually track and will say, this is your 2 hour or 3 hour window that you're going to be peak performance, that you're going to have the most energy. And I know at least for me, it was usually 2 or 3 hours after I got up that I was the most cognizant and cognitively just in sharp and on point. Now that's a bit extreme. People might say that's not really scientific, whatever. But with the kids, in order to teach this, it could be as simple as, okay, hey, listen, kids, for this week in homeschooling, we're going to have 5 check-ins a day. When you get up, and this is the thing, the variables need to stay consistent. So that means your diet needs to stay the same. Your bedtime and your wake time needs to stay the same. We're not going to bed at 11 o'clock one night and 9 the other night. So if these variables can stay as consistent.
So pick a week that you don't have too much planned.
Totally. Pick a week. Yeah. And then you can just check in with them. If you have little guys, at breakfast, give me, you can make a chart. You can either make a math problem out of this and just say, are you the energized smiley face? Are you the meh face? Or are you the tired sleeping face? And you can just say, pick one, right? Or if you have older kids, you can say, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, I'm the most energized. I feel like I can do everything. Or 1, I want to go back to bed. Like, where are you? And if you do that at breakfast, snack time, lunch, snack time, evening, and right before bed, and you plot that, you will see a rhythm to your days. And normally for everybody, there's going to be a 2 to 3 hour area where it's like, I'm on fire. I feel like I could just accomplish anything and do everything. And if you can kind of corner that, then you can get all of your heavy lifting for schoolwork in, and it's going to be so efficient, and it's going to take a third of the time as if you try to put it at right when they wake up or maybe later or whenever it is for you.
Right.
So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. And because really in homeschooling, we only have about a maximum of 2 hours where you really have to be on point and focused with your kids to get really what needs to be done. The rest of it is a lot of fluff, fun, and if we can build all of that around it when they're less energetic, then that math and the reading and whatever else needs all that higher amount of attention to get done. Absolutely. Quicker and with less pain on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And to even go a step further, I would say, whatever your hardest thing is, because we all have that hard thing, right? If it's, and I keep saying math, and maybe your kids love math, but that wasn't necessarily the case in my house. So I'm just going to stick with math. So there's a quote from Mark Twain, and he says, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. So once you've established this, and so the meaning behind that is, right, what do we do when we have to set out for tasks? We check our emails, we might clean the dishes, because those are low bar things. Then they're like, oh, we're just working up to the thing. And then by the time when we actually have to do the thing, we don't have any energy. So if you can find that, right? So if you can find that 2 to 3 hour window where your kids are the most focused and you're like, all right, we're going to do the hardest thing first because I know that we're going to get this done. And what happens is, it might be a little bit harder to have that activation energy to go into it, but set the timer. I'm a huge fan of timers. If you're finding resistance with your kids to say, I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And if, hey, we're going to do this hard thing for 10 minutes and we're going to eat that frog. That's what I always tell my kids. We're just going to eat the frog. And then once they do it, it's really a cool thing. You will see that kind of propel them to want to do, not like, dude, we got the hard stuff done. That's why I like to go run. Yeah, to go running in the morning because I'm like, oh, I got the hardest thing done, and now I can move on with my day. And so, yeah, it's just finding that 2 to 3 hour window, finding your hardest subject first, doing that first, and then moving on like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does. It feels like you've accomplished so much. And then it's like taking this heavy weight off of you as well. We all know that, with projects, the more you procrastinate, you're taking up that energy of the procrastination along with everything else that you're doing. And you tap yourself out of anything that you could have used effectively before then. So that makes tons of sense.
It makes tons of sense. And if we can get into the rhythm of this, then your kids know that, if they can get into the rhythm of using this tuning in with their body and finding their natural energy and saying, these are the 2 to 3 hours, and then we're going to tackle our tasks, then hopefully, at least the idea is, once they get old enough to, go to college or apprenticeship somewhere, they have these skills and tools in place.
Right. These are skills that will help them in lots of different areas. Absolutely.
Exactly. So it's not about just accomplishing whatever schoolwork or curriculum you have. It's about implementing these skills for your kids so that they can go ahead and be successful at whatever it is they want to do later on down the road.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. And starting out when they're younger is great. So what about, if we are, in a bad schedule and we want to course correct, like you said at the beginning, what would you do with maybe an older child or somebody who, a child that you've homeschooled for a while and they're frustrated at this point because your schedule hasn't been working, but you've been pushing it. I know a lot of parents get that point, and you get to almost that burnout phase. How do you change things around?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, as parents, read the room, right? If you're faced, and I'm not saying that kids are always going to be like, yeah, I want to do work, but if it's just brutal every single day, take a beat, step back, and then bring your kids into the mix. Because unless you are, you have to do the schedule because you're working and this is the only time that we have, bring your kids into the mix, do that week-long journal for your energy. And then depending on their age, and this can even be done as young as 5-year-olds, have them pick it. When do you think we should do this work? And maybe they won't say, maybe you've been doing it from 9 to 12 because, we just want to get this done. But really the ideal time might be 12 to 3. And you might, if you shift that, then you might find a completely different homeschool experience. Nothing's going to be perfect. But the thing is, we kind of get into our rut. So it's just not working. My kids don't listen. They're frustrated, whatever. But it's no, if you're in tune with it, you can be creative and you can change it around. So and the more buy-in they have with it, it's going to be successful.
Absolutely.
More successful, I should say. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. We had a question from one of our viewers. Brandy had asked, similar to what we just talked about. She said, any suggestions for getting my son back on schedule? But ADD and sensory overload was the two issues that he struggles with. Any particular suggestions for Brandy?
Yeah. So I love this question because isn't that the truth? Even kids that are not diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or sensory overload, it's kind of the same thing. I think it's insane the amount that we expect our kids to sit still and to pay attention. It is just insane.
We will continue this conversation after a short break.
Is it hard to spark meaningful conversations with your kids? Whether you're a homeschool hero, planning activities for the next family vacation, or simply gathering around the dinner table, we've got something that can help. Introducing the Daily Family Conversation Starter by best-selling author Katie Clemens. This remarkable book offers 365 imaginative ways to connect with your children in just 5 minutes each day, with prompts like, "Who made you laugh today?" or "What would you do if you had a tail?" These simple questions open up a world of laughter, curiosity, and deeper connections. From dinner time to sleepy time, the Daily Family Conversation Starter is your key to creating memories that will last a lifetime. Don't wait to transform your family's daily routine into an adventure of discovery and fun. Grab your copy of the Daily Family Conversation Starter today, wherever books are sold.
What impacts you every day? There is one book that influences almost every aspect of our lives. Museum of the Bible reveals the Bible's impact on your favorite musicians and artists, the way we measure time, social justice, our national monuments, and more. The Bible's impact is all around you. Discover how at museumofthebible.org/impact.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool, a nonprofit that empowers families to home educate diverse learners. To learn more, visit spedhomeschool.com.
Julie Bogart, a Brave writer, said if you want to scan kids' attention span, it's their age plus 1, right? So if they're 5, you got about 6 good minutes where you can
That's
engage
good.
with them.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that I think is super helpful is before you even step into doing school with your kids, it doesn't matter where you are, even if you're in the freezing cold, have them do some kind of physical movement. There was a study that was done, and they took a group of students all the way from elementary to high school, and they just did 10 minutes. 10 minutes of walking, and it wasn't even crazy, before the school day. And after about a quarter, everyone's grades went up that actually did the exercise. And so what happens is that when we physically move our bodies, we're able to, after we do that, to sit and focus. Like right before this interview, I just went out for a walk, so let me get out for a walk, and now I can focus on what we need to do. And Brandy, short amounts of time, I don't know how old your kid is, but that and plus 1. And then we can focus. And then, hey, I used to tell my kids all the time, go give me 2 laps around the block. I don't care if you run. I don't care if you skate, do whatever, come back right and get back to it. So let's be realistic in our expectations with how we want our kids to focus. And in addition, can you do movement while you are learning something? Be creative with that, right? So those are just some ideas off the top of my head that might be helpful.
Yeah, that's really good because, we do have that freedom again. And I think we do get too stuck to the idea that sitting is, the most effective way for anybody to learn. And some people learn while they're moving, and waking up your brain with that activity just makes so much sense too. So does that affect, so for people like, say you happen to have better energy rhythms in the morning and you have to do something in the evening, maybe there's just something going on where your student is going to need to focus. Getting that exercise, is that helpful for at least for a little while in getting that boost and getting that energy level up?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it could be done as little as 10 minutes. And if you do have, let's say, if you have some kind of scheduled thing in the evening and you know that in the morning, I would just buffer in some time before then that we could have some downtime and some recreational time. So you're not going all day. And then on top of that, right, you're still expecting this kid to focus. Like, make sure you give him some buffer time, especially if you know that he or she's going to dip at that hour. Like, let's buffer him up and just, hey, I know you have this thing in an hour, so let's just relax. Let's have some snacks or lay around or whatever it is that, would bring some more rest and restoration to him.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about energy levels and meal times? Because I know, there's that digestion in there. Do you have any suggestions for, like, is it good to have some downtime after you eat?
Yeah. So I think a lot of that plays into what you are eating, right?
Yes.
So I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist in any way, shape, or form, but I know after I eat, if I eat a very poorly choiced meal, I am definitely not going to want to do a whole lot of anything.
Right.
But yeah, I think that we could consider that after you eat a meal, perhaps. Yeah, you want to have some downtime after that. But again, everybody's different. Food affects everybody differently. The type of food that you're eating. I mean, if you're eating tuna and almonds in a salad, is it going to really tank your energy? Probably not. You're going to probably have more energy. So I think it just depends on what you're eating. But yeah, and the thing is, like, maybe you are like, I've noticed that every time I eat, it doesn't matter what I eat. I know my energy dips. Great. Then schedule that into your day. I know that after lunch, I'm going to need an hour to whatever to just chill. Fantastic.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because, some kids will just really hype up and others will just calm down. And following those rhythms is important. And so what if you have kids, one that, is on one end of the scale and one that's on the other?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my heart goes out to you if that is you with different kids. And I mean, to say that to that, you just want to honor that to the best of your ability that you can. I know life's not perfect and it is easy to get all of that in there. But again, look at your schedule, be creative. If one is earlier in the late afternoon and the other one's earlier in the morning, like, what can you do? Just brainstorm. Ask if your husband or whoever, your mom or whatever, can help out in any way, or neighbors. That's the whole thing about homeschooling is just solving problems and being creative to give our kids the best educational experience that they can based on how they are. And to this point, I will say, human beings are ever changing, right? We have kids that are physically growing, and always changing. So how it's going to be one semester might not be how it is the next semester.
That's a good point.
And that's how I think at the end of every week, we should just take a couple minutes and be like, how'd it go? What can we change? What can we do?
Yes.
And so I know for my family, we're not homeschooling this year, but we do have family meetings every single week. And we ask, well, how'd it go this week? What can we do differently to, be better parents, to be better as a family? And there's some good suggestions, from my, so just be open and keep working at it, because you'll find a rhythm that will be better if you're really struggling. So don't lose heart.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It does change. Your kids are in different activities too, and that all falls into the mix. And some of it takes more energy than you'd like it to. And there's seasons. So yes, stopping in and reevaluating instead of saying, "Oh, we found the magic schedule, and now it's going to work forever." And sorry to break your bubble on this one, but there is, if you find and hit a rhythm, it may be for a short time, and then you're going to have to change it again.
It's going to change, I promise you. So I say, if you're in a season and it's great, that's awesome, enjoy it. If you're in a season and it's bad, just wait, because it'll change. So.
Right. That's very wise advice. Absolutely.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to pop into one of our questions, but I'd love to hear what you have to say first.
Well, I was just going to jump in and start talking about how we can start time boxing based on.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So have you heard of time boxing before?
I have a little bit. But not in too much depth. So yes,
in the most simple terms, time boxing is basically just taking a segment of time for each, for part of your day and scheduling an activity, a task, something to that. And so for homeschoolers, especially unschoolers, I know this could make you maybe want to throw up and be like, "Ooh, I could never do that. This is horrible. She's asking me to be, I feel like I'm suffocating because this is ridiculous."
Right.
But I promise you that if you can get into the habit and the discipline of doing this, your life, you will have so much more time. There will be less stress, and you will just have a sense of freedom. So There's a guy, his name is Brian Tracy, and he said, for every 5 minutes that you spend planning, you save 20 minutes in execution, right?
Wow.
And so our kids love routines, right? Whether you're homeschooling or not, they thrive on routines. When I taught in the classroom, I taught in an inner city school in Detroit, and at Christmas break, I literally had a girl that was sobbing. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, she's like, I just don't want to go home. I never know what's going to happen. So she loved the idea of coming to school for a routine and its comfort of she knew what was happening. Okay. So if you want to talk about time boxing, and I'm going to keep this in the most simple terms there is, you can eat. I mean, there's apps for time boxing. I have not done this. And now it's really crazy. Like, you can even use AI to do this, and I'm not going to go off.
But we had just 2 shows on AI and how to use AI for homeschool planning. And even write your curriculum. It was amazing. So if you missed that, audience, just put it into ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, but also u.com. You just have to use your Google thing. But oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my gosh, it just blows my mind. I always tell my kids, I'm like, they're like, are you talking about AI again? Mom, stop talking about it. Okay, we get it. It's but yeah, so there's amazing things. So if you want to talk about time boxing, just take for every hour you're up, you put a box next to the hour, right? So some people want to do a half an hour, 45 minutes. For simplicity, I'm just do a box next to each hour. And of course, let's take, if you want to do it a day at a time, if you want to do a week at a time, what I normally do is I'll either do it the night before when I'm lying in bed, literally write out every single hour of my day and then put it in there, or I'll do it in the morning. But so then you want to look at your natural rhythms, right? I know my kids are most up from 11 to 2, and that's when we get all of our stuff done. Sweet. Let's put that in there. We're going to do our hardest thing first. We're going to do our math, at least in our case. We're going to do our math first and everything. And then, of course, you want to put any solid commitments. We have sports practice. We have piano practice. We have Bible study. Whatever it is, you're going to put that in there. Now, here's the beautiful thing about time boxing. It's not just about scheduling. If you want relationships to be better in your life, you can put on your time box from 5 o'clock. I'm going to go, and this isn't homeschooling, but I'm going to hang out with my husband, right? I'm going to go for a walk with my husband. I'm going to go whatever, whatever it is. For a season of our life, I felt like we were just kind of in this way of just consuming. Like, we'd watch shows, we'd play video games, we'd do all these things, but we weren't creating. And I feel like God created us to create, right?
Absolutely.
He gave us gifts and talents to create and add value to the world. And I felt like we weren't doing that. So I literally, in my time box, had this hour of create. Like, I don't care if you write a piano song. I don't care if you do an art project. I don't care if you whatever, as long as you are creating and giving that God-given talent, right? So whatever we want to see come to fruition in our homeschooling, we can put it in our time box, right? And so what happens is, another good thing that we can do too, and this is homeschooling or just in general, is I know with me, I'll be, in the shower in the morning and be like, oh, I have to do that thing. And then I won't think about it. And then like maybe the next day I'll be like, oh, I have to do that thing, but I won't do it. Right?
Oh yeah, I get that.
So now what I do is on my phone, I literally have in my notes app, like if something pops up in my mind, I take 10 seconds. And for me, like lately, I have to fix the address numbers of my house. So I got to fix the address numbers in my house. And then in my time box, I have an hour each day to go and do the stuff on that list. So, okay, what's on my to-do list? And I can just scratch it out and like whatever. So it's using the idea of time box and the idea of homeschooling is really beneficial, because we can, take our 2 to 3 hours that we know that we're going to homeschool and use that. But then also, like, what do you want to see in your homeschooling? Do you want to connect with nature? Then go ahead and put that in your time box. You know that every day from 3 o'clock, we're outside at the park. What is it? What do you want to create? Let's put a creating hour in there. You want to exercise, which is so hard sometimes, especially here in Michigan in the wintertime. Let's put a half an hour in that, we're going to do that. Now, obviously, you're not going to be perfect, right? We're going to have, just seasons we're not going to, days that we're not going to want to do it. But we have now a schedule that we can look to. And you know what it does, really? It takes the fatigue out of decision making. And once you have that, you have
so
all
much
this
fatigue
energy.
Right.
So much fatigue. You have all this energy to execute as opposed to like, okay, well, I have this 10 things to do. I don't know what I'm going to do next. Or now the kids are asking you to do this. And now it's like, I don't know. But if you have it, so give it a shot. It's not going to be perfect. Don't give up on it. Keep playing around with it. And I promise you, it will definitely help you out. And, be flexible. Like if stuff comes up and you have to scrap the plans for the day and try again tomorrow. Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Every day is just an experiment. Let's see how we can do better tomorrow.
So when you time box, do you do every day pretty much identical, or do you change? I mean, different days of the week, maybe you have like a standing like class for a student during the day. So, do you then just do different days of the week? They're different, or do you try to keep that schedule pretty much consistent other than the times that you're gone?
Yeah. So I would say, I think as human beings, we love routine, and the more that we can stay standard, the better we're going to be at executing it. So for me in my own life, I know that I have a schedule from 9 to 10 that I either going to go run or that I'm going to lift weights, right? And for me, it's just gotten into the routine. It's like, I don't want to do it, but it's in my time box. And I know my body's gotten into the rhythm of like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. We're going to do this or whatever. Yeah. And with your kids, the same way. So now if you are consistent for a week or two, they'll come to you and be like, hey, mom, it's time to do this. Right. Yeah. And you don't have to do anything. They know. Right. And make it fun too. Like don't make it be a chore. If your thing's to go out in nature, find other homeschoolers that want to go and do hikes with you, or find other friends or neighbors or whatever to do that thing that might be a little bit hard, but you bring community around it and it makes it more, desirable to do. Yeah. So I would say the more that you can stay consistent throughout the days, the probability of you executing it is probably going to be higher. Okay.
Yes, that does make sense because kids will just say, "Well, what happened to what we normally do?" Like, that day to try to change things up and say, "Well, this is this day's schedule," and the next, I could see that getting really confusing fast.
And you can even have the kids, have the kids write their own, right? Don't do it for them because I don't like it when someone comes and tells me like, "This is what we have to do." Like, come on, let's do it together. Or if they're teenagers, let me see what your day looks like. And again, for those of you that like want to vomit because it seems like it's way too much work, just give it a try because you're going to have so much more energy because you're taking away that decision fatigue. And
Right. And it's not like a lesson plan or a set schedule that a curriculum gave you that you had no choice, in doing. And it's like, open the book, do the plan. You have like boxes, like you said, of this hour of time that's yours. You have the freedom to do within that box, and it's an experiment as well. I just want to reiterate when you said that at the very beginning, that you don't know if it's going to work or not, but try it.
So life is just one big, right. Life is just one big experiment. Keep trying different things and find what works and stay with that until it doesn't, and then try something else. Yeah.
But if this is proven, and it does show that you save time, you save mental energy, that you're going to be more effective, why not? Because, exactly.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those tools that, when your kids, if your kids learn how to do this, that when they leave the house and they are hit with, now they have to manage college and a job or apprentice, they're not like floundering. They know, okay, right. Because this is executive functioning skills. And I'm sure you've talked about this.
Yeah. Oh yes. Many times.
But some people are just downloaded, just born with this downloaded, while others, like, it takes a little bit of work to learn these skills. And not saying that they can't, but it just takes a little bit of practice and skill. So let's let our kids go out into the world with these skills, to manage their life and be successful.
And they learn best through example. So if we're actually doing it and we're implementing it, they see the benefits of it, then they're more likely to do it themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially I'm a huge fan of having family meetings, like weekly family meetings, because I'll tell you, this is really crazy. I'll tell you my schedule right now. So we're living in Michigan, but literally my husband flies to California every week. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So so he's gone. And when he comes back, I'm like, okay, before you even jump in, like, we need to sync our calendars up, because you're on Pacific time and I'm here. And it's crazy. I would die if I didn't have this. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot going on, and I totally get that. Yes. Yeah. So we had one question from a viewer and it's actually a multiple part question. So I kind of want to make sure we get to that before we wrap up. And if you're watching, I see we have quite a few viewers watching the show. If you have questions about this, any comments, please do put them in the feed wherever you're watching from. We'd love to include you in our conversation. But Cynthia asked a question about minimizing her daughter's learning issues of dyslexia and ADHD, being rather inattentive. That's probably what's leading to most of it. How can I determine what to do to best help her in the future? What activities should I continue, and for how long? And also, how do I make room for more fun for her to increase her self-motivation? Lots of stuff involved in that one.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that speaks to my heart, because my oldest has dyslexia and we've been down this road. And I will say this, especially with kids with dyslexia, but for anybody in general, it kind of goes hand in hand that kids with dyslexia have poor working memory. It just goes hand in hand. And so anytime that you can include multi-sensory into your teaching, the brain is kind of like, hey, we should probably learn this. So a good example of this, and Cynthia, if you're looking for ideas, you could ask ChatGPT for creative ways to incorporate movement. But a good example of this is when I was having my kids learn my phone number. So someone that has dyslexia, that has poor working memory, it's a monumental task at the age of 7 to learn somebody's phone number, right? So what we did we kind of put tape on the floor, like a tic-tac-toe board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so the numbers, I would say, okay, so jump to the number, say the number, look at the number. So what are you doing? You're moving, you're seeing it, and you're saying it out loud. So you go through that and do that. And he probably learned it in like a fraction of the time if I was just like, okay, remember this. So Cynthia, anytime that you can use a multi-sensory, that the brain is touch, feel, sight, taste, sound, whatever, incorporate as many of those as possible. She's going to be more engaged, which means that she's going to have more fun. And it's going to be more efficient, especially if maybe her working memory is a little bit lagging. And I want to say to that, Cynthia, I don't even know if her working memory is poor, but just from my own experience, it gets better. It 100% it gets better, just with time and age. So hang in there. I'm sure you're doing a great job, but yeah, multi-sensory, anytime that you can add that to the lesson is going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And yeah, just making it more fun. Like you said, multi-sensory is always more fun. And that just seems to engage another part of their brain too. Instead of just the workbooks or the lessons that are dry.
So this is really interesting. I just listened to this TED Talk, and I'm sure that there are probably parents that would be like, oh, I would never do that. But this guy actually goes, and he's a professor. I don't even remember what college he was at. But he goes on and talks about how playing video games while listening to lectures is actually helping the brain retain and gain the information that it needs. And so he was a big proponent of that. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I had never heard that before, but
that's how my oldest made it through writing in college, is he played video games when he wrote. And I was like, how is this working? But he was getting A's, so I could not say anything against it. Okay. But my brain would not be, I don't know. I just don't know how it happens.
Well, and I think that's the great thing about homeschooling too, is that we can take these different ideas and implement that, and then we don't have to have butt and seat all the time just sitting there. So yeah, creative ways.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Try them out. I mean, some people say their energy is up when they listen to music. Some people say it's distracting, but you just don't know. We don't know until you try it.
Yeah.
And so it's good. Just do as an experiment. So
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. So talk to me a little bit about, you wrote a book. And I would love for you to share a little bit of info that I'm going to share in the show notes, a link to that in your website, and I'll have you talk about that too. But what's in the book that you wrote and title?
Yeah, so the book is called You Can Homeschool, and I wrote it because probably about 4 years into homeschooling, I just had like the same questions over and over and over. Why are you homeschooling? What are you doing? How is it working? And my husband was like, you should just write a book. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll write a book. But yeah, really the sentiment behind it is just I really want to motivate people who are maybe like on the bridge, thinking, should I homeschool? Should I not? Give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, you can always course correct and send them. But who knows what could come of it?
Right.
Especially kids with learning differences. I'm not seeing how they fit into our traditional education system. I'm not saying all schools.
Yeah.
Right. There are some schools doing great things, but if you do, like, embrace that time, right? So I wrote it to really just motivate and encourage people. And to really, the sentiment behind it is to homeschool out of love, not fear. Yeah. Because when we let fear lead the way, it's very, just minimizing and we can't see. But when we're operating from love, we have endless possibilities of what we can do and implement homeschooling. And so there's a number of different things in there. I talk about, practical things like that. I talk about teaching strategies. I taught in the school system and done like extensive research on the most effective teaching strategies and practices. And just a couple of stories that I have from my own life and kids, but really it's just like, hey, you can do this. You got this. Go out there. Try this, try that, try this, try that. If it doesn't work, try this. So lots of ideas.
Yeah, that's awesome. Some good ideas and motivation and encouragement. So that's great. And then what about your website? Homeschoolmovement.com.
Yeah, homeschoolmovement.com. To be 100% honest, I haven't really posted on there a lot, but it does have an extensive amount of blogs. Just kind of the same thing, empowering, motivating. I do have a couple of interviews on there just to get some insight on different ideas of how to implement some different homeschool strategies, just all in the vein of trying to help people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll put the link for that in the show notes as well, if you're looking to get that information. So yeah, it's good to learn from others' experience. I the more and more that I do this podcast, people are like, thank you. After you're done homeschooling, you just continued to support this community because it seems like we've been there, done that, we move on. And there's a lot of wisdom in years where you're in the thick of it and in the struggle. And so thank you for sharing with us from your experience, but your experience, even in the education system and just the things that you've read and put into practice in your own life, it just helps others to understand that this is doable and it can help. And so thank you for all that you shared.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. So you have any closing comments to share with our audience?
Yeah. If you're in the thick of it right now and you're feeling just so frustrated and you don't really know what to do, just take a beat, right? Like we talked about, and step back and just enjoy your kids. Operate from love. Don't operate from fear of failing, the fear of our kids not fitting in, the fear of the future. Just, I mean, we're on this planet for such a short amount of time. just realize the space that you're in, and that in the new season, your kids are going to be gone. And just take a step back and see what you can do. Remember, every week is a mini experiment. Just operate, like I said, homeschool out of love, not fear.
Yeah, so good. And yes, absolutely. Take those words to heart. It does go by very fast. And if we are just fearful, there's so much that we don't do that we should be doing. And there's so much that we do that we shouldn't be doing. And so yes, let that fear go. God is fear. He's in, we will find that perfect peace when we're in his will. And so it's very important to be mindful of, because I think we do a lot of planning out of fear more than anything else. Yeah, and when you can operate away from fear, and it might be a daily thing. This is okay today, God. I'm not going to walk in fear. I'm not going to homeschool in fear, right? And then you'll see different opportunities pop up and to homeschool differently. They do, yes. And going back to schedules, when we started our homeschool year, sometimes there were subjects I hadn't decided on yet because I didn't want to fill a space with something that was okay. I felt like, no, there's something still that would fit better, but I don't know what it is. And I would just leave that gap. I would start teaching what I had. And you know what? When the timing was right, God always provided what I needed for those subjects, and what I needed to teach. And we wouldn't have had room, or we would have spent the money on something else that would have taken that spot. So it's best to just wait and do what you have. Well said. So good. Yeah. Well, thank you, Rachel, so much for sharing with us. I know we had a struggle a bit getting this scheduled. We've been going back and forth for months. So I'm glad it finally worked out, and I had you on, and you got to share on this important topic. And especially as people are kind of figuring, maybe this year's not been a good year for schedules, then try some things out. Don't give up on homeschooling. Yeah. Try some things out towards the end of the year. You've got a couple months left, and then approach your next year with maybe some more ammunition in your pocket of how to plan more effectively for next year. So, and like we said, the key is to bringing the kids into the mix in the planning. That's huge for the buy-in. Yes. So good. Yeah. Well, next week we are going to talk about unleashing your students' learning potential, and our guest says it's the ultimate approach. We're going to talk about parent-child relationships and just how you can use that relationship to power your connection with your child and your ability to teach them. So if you feel like there's some struggle in those relationships, my guest is really going to talk about how you can work on rebuilding, building, and making those bonds stronger, so that you can teach your child more effectively from that standpoint too. So anyways, we're going to talk about that at same time, same place. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks again, Rachel. I appreciate you taking time out to be with us, and I will see you back here next week. Take care and God bless. Bye, everybody. I want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on this podcast. If you go to lifeaudio.com, you'll find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network. They've got shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
This has been Empowering Homeschool Conversations.
Have you ever considered yourself a messenger? I mean, you are called by God, and aren't we all praying the big prayer, "Here I am, Lord, send me"? So if we put two and two together, you've got a message to deliver, my friend. Whether it's mics like this, bookshelves around the world, stages to take, art to make, or businesses to build, it's time we start testifying truth unashamedly, creatively, and in love. My name is Tamara Andress, the host of the Messenger Movement podcast, which is designed to catalyze Christians to speak, write, build, and testify. I use my mic like a machete. So if you don't like to get your toes stepped on or pushed off cliffs to finally jump on in with Jesus, I may be too much for you. But if you're ready to turn your message into a movement and want to run with other messengers doing the thing at scale globally, search and follow the Messenger Movement Podcast on your favorite podcast platform or lifeaudio.com today.